Lord of the Mysteries. Chapter 638. Poison Expert. While Klein bowed, the purple tint in black-haired Katla's eyes converged as they seemed to turn into an abyss that could suck up souls. What already exuded an air of mystery had turned even more obvious. She saw that the astral projection deep inside Gehrman Sparrow's ether body was pure darkness. In minute areas there were dark flows with unending changes. She saw that Gehrman Sparrow's left hand was bright and lustrous, but it was stained with a sanguine color that couldn't be dispersed. She saw a blue luster by Gehrman Sparrow's wrist and a silver flow on his left pocket. The colors were bright and obvious as though they were connected to the illusory, stack spirit world. There was the sound of the tide and the illusory sounds of wind surrounding the items. She saw an intermix of green and black lusters by Gehrman Sparrow's right pocket, as well as 2 points of golden, silver, and bronze under his armpit. At his chest, there was a deep grayish-white like rotting death. For mystical items and beyonder artifacts or spirituality charms in units of 10. Katla's eyes were a little dazzled as she couldn't help but close them for a moment. She nodded as well. "Good evening, Mr. Sparrow." Even as a powerhouse who was famous across the seas, a senior member of the 7 pirate admirals, she seldom saw people who armed themselves to the teeth with beyonder items. Of course, she had also seen people with more mystical items, beyonder artifacts, and spirituality charms, but they had secret organizations backing them. They typically had several ships and more than 1,000 pirates under them. Many things needed to be turned in, split and shared, as well as sold in order to maintain and strengthen one's faction. Few things could be left in their possession as a result. However, few was relative. They could compare with what Gehrman Sparrow presently had, but Katla had reduced her items to only 2 after several trades. They were 2 items that were sufficiently powerful and mystical enough to match her identity as a pirate admiral. Apart from the lusters representing different items, Katla's black eyes, which were slightly purple, could also tell that Gehrman wasn't real enough. He seemed to be hidden behind thick curtains. This is the reason why he gives me the feeling like he's not a living person at the Tarot Club. He has quite a number of secrets. It involves at least a Sequence 3 saint or an even higher level angel. Katla didn't dare take another look as the glow in her eyes were no longer as profound. Meanwhile, she mocked herself, believing that some of her guesses about the world and Gehrman Sparrow were somewhat funny. Involves a Sequence 3 saint or an even higher leveled angel. Heh, there's nothing wrong with that, since he's like me, a member of the Tarot Club. We're definitely involved with Mr. Fool, who's likely a reawakened ancient god. After exchanging greetings, Katla didn't engage in further small talk. She led Klein towards the cabin. At this moment, the Future, which had been docked, set sail again. A long contour was drawn on the surface of the sea as it cruised east of the whale fishing route. With that, the tense atmosphere at the Nas harbor dispersed. Gazes from various sailors were cast over. Klein didn't show any signs of pressure as he surveyed the area and said with a tone as though he was back in his own home, "There are fewer people than I expected." Katla turned her head and glanced at him before answering simply, "East of the whaling route is very dangerous. Only Ludwell heads there frequently as though he's searching for something. Apart from the Future, the pirate crew's other ships wouldn't join us. Similarly, a large number of sailors have been placed on the other ships. Only the minimum number needed to guarantee the successful voyage of the ship has been maintained. A very wise choice." Ludwell. That Admiral Hal Ludwell? Mr. Hangman mentioned him a long time ago. He said that he was beginning to study Sonia C's eastern end of the navigation. Klein nodded a little without a word. This was Gehrman Sparrow's bearing. He silently observed his surroundings and realized that the deck, the cabin, and spars were covered with mysterious and abstract symbols. As a whole, it looked like a gigantic ritualistic magic ceremony. It's like the Golden Dream. It's a sailboat of mystery, but it's not at the level of a ghost ship. Compared to Admiral of Stars and Vice Admiral Iceberg, Tracy, who has only become a pirate admiral for the past few months, clearly is considerably more inferior. The Black Death has nothing special about it. Klein retracted his gaze and followed Katla to the cabin's entrance. Waiting here was a man in dungarees and a white shirt. He was in his 30s and looked strong and fit. He had thick body hair. As for his forearm, which was exposed outside, it seemed like he was donning a brown sweater. He wore a circular hair with a depression in the middle as he revealed a smile and stretched out his right hand. The first mate of the future, Frank Lee. Good evening, Mr. Sparrow. Poison expert Frank Lee, who has a bounty of 7,000 pounds. Klein instantly recognized the man. Considering how Gehrman Sparrow didn't have the habit of shaking hands, he bent his back slightly and said, "Good evening." Frank Lee retracted his right hand and glanced at Katla. He said while maintaining his smile, "You seem to know me?" "That's right. The picture I took before is on my arrest warrant." "Don't mind the poison expert title. I'm a very friendly person, as long as I'm not facing those darn bastards. My greatest hobby is to study soil and figure out cross-breeding techniques. Believe me, this is the future of humanity. But the people from the Church of Earth Mother don't believe him." Katla gave Klein an introduction in the most subtle manner. "He's originally someone from the Church of Earth Mother? Cross-breeding techniques are good. As long as the quantity rises, it will be able to provide for more humans, raising the poverty line." Klein looked at Frank Lee, and he calmly said courteously and truthfully, "This is something commendable. You are indeed an adventurer who doesn't share the viewpoint of the common man. Excellent! Excellent! There are just too few people like you." Frank Lee's blue eyes revealed a clear look of pleasant surprise. "I've only tried crossbreeding a bull, a cow, and wheat together, allowing calves to be born like wheat. For that, I was almost sent to court by the Church of Earth Mother. My benevolent mother, they don't understand your true will at all. Crossbreeding a bull, a cow, and wheat. You devil." Only then did Klein realize that his understanding of crossbreeding techniques was different from what Frank Lee was talking about. He maintained a stoic expression without providing any further explanation. Under the lead of Frank Lee, who was reeling in a sudden bout of enthusiasm, Klein walked through the corridor beside Katla. After stepping on the steps and arriving at a higher level, Klein's spiritual perception stirred as he cast his gaze to a shadow beside him. A figure grew out of the distorted darkness, a thin and tall but pale figure. His cheeks were nearly transparent, and his nose bridge was disharmonious and tall. His entire being gave off a sickly feeling. "This is the second mate of the future, Heath Doyle," Frank Lee introduced with a smile. "Bloodless Heath, whose bounty is higher than yours at 7,600 pounds. Klein quickly matched the face to the correct bounty notice. Heath nodded as a greeting before receding back into the shadows. "He's a Rose Bishop." When turning around to head for the captain's cabin, Frank Lee warmly mentioned Heath Doyle's situation. "You are telling me your second mate's sequence directly?" Klein nearly pricked his brows. He secretly glanced at Katla and discovered her masked exasperation. "Are you puzzled and worried that he's a devout believer of the true Creator, a lunatic who has been tainted? No, haha. He's a lucky fellow. Due to an incident, the ordinary him was scattered with the potion concocted from a Rose Bishop's Beyonder ingredients. The potion seeped into him, bit by bit, and he survived the ordeal. Finally, he became quite a special Beyonder. As he didn't experience the listener stage, he wasn't tainted, nor did he become a lunatic. As long as he doesn't proactively use the Beyonder power, listen, he remains an ordinary person." "Frank," Lee said in a flaunting tone. "What an enviable fellow. He reached sequence 6 in one go. Furthermore, he didn't turn mentally unstable like the sea serpent, Calvetua." Klein sighed silently as he watched Admiral of Stars open the door to the captain's cabin. Katla pointed inside. "Your room is diagonally across from here. Frank will send you over. If there's anything, you can come to me directly. You can have your meals at the dining hall at any time. You can also get Frank to send someone to bring food to your room. What you choose is dependent on your preference. Admiral of Stars does things in a very clear and direct manner. Yes, she's a mature and wise lady." Klein praised inwardly as he replied without a change in expression. Okay. He took this opportunity to glance at the layout of the captain's cabin, discovering that it contained a bookshelf, a full-body mirror, a table, and a carpet. She actually reads? Isn't she unable to digest all the information the hidden sage imbues in her? Klein thought in amusement. At this moment, having seen their conversation come to an end, Frankly passionately promoted. Mr. Sparrow, would you like a serving of roasted potatoes tonight? When you chew it, it's like beef and its taste is like beef, but it's certainly potatoes. Will I get sick eating that? Klein answered coldly. I don't eat supper. All right then. Frankly drooped his shoulders and was just about to lead Klein to his room. Katla suddenly thought of something and said, Mr. Sparrow, you've likely hunted quite a number of enemies and have received several spoils of war. I'm curious about the number of Beyonder characteristics you have left. Perhaps they can be used to reduce the remaining price of the trip. Klein considered for a moment and answered frankly. Most of them have been sold. There's Interrogator, Pugilist, and Lunatic left. He didn't mention the all-black eye or the Beyonder characteristic of Nightmare. He really is the most famous adventurer during the past few months. Even after selling most of them, he still has 3 sets of Beyonder characteristics. Katla sighed inwardly as she pondered. I want Pugilist. She had a warrior subordinate from the Gargas archipelago who had long made enough contributions to apply for an advancement.